Hello and welcome to Finding Your Voice, the platform aimed at connecting the world through these times of social distancing, self-isolation and global lockdowns. I am Laura and today we're meeting with Dietrich Soakai. He is Tongan, Samoan, German, Irish and Scottish. Can you believe that? What a wonderful combination. I can't wait to find out more about that. He is a youth development worker, an MC and a spoken word poet and communicator. Dietrich, I'd love to get you to introduce yourself and to tell us what on earth is a spoken word poet and communicator.
Mā lore lei, talo palava, kia ora koutou. Yeah, thank you, Laura. So really great to be on this platform show. I don't know what we call it, chat. Yeah, so a spoken word. So I'm a spoken word poet. Spoken word poetry is the kind of poetry that demands to be off page. It demands to be expressed. It demands to be embodied, to be heard. So yeah, that's the kind of poetry I do. Some call it performance poetry or whatever. And I'm a communicator because sometimes I don't want to do it in poems. Sometimes I just want to have a chat with people, and sometimes I've got a story or a message or a thing that I have inside that I'd like to get out. Yeah.
And that is really cool. And I believe that you have spent the last 15 years working with young people. How have you done that?
Yeah.
Have you done that through your spoken word?
Most definitely. So probably in the last sort of 6 years, I've been sort of working with young people, not just young people, but peoples in general, from corporates to kindergarten students, just a wide range of people. And yeah, and using spoken word poetry as a way for people to express how they're feeling, to get, like I said, whatever's on the inside out. And like I say, like it's never about perfection, it's about expression. So that's kind of what my intent is with the workshops that I do and how I work with people.
I love that. And with the workshops and with the young people that you're working with, and obviously the corporates as well, and I mean, spoken word is something that I'd be like, be a poet, like, what? You know, this is obviously something that you're able to teach them somehow. Is there a method to this creativity?
Yeah, there's definitely a method to the madness, and that method is more just around exercises and writing exercises and a little mixture of drama. But at the moment, I've found my culture as a really good anchor for what I'm doing. So using sort of cultural practices. So cultural practices to engage with people's stories. Because here's the thing, everyone has a culture. Everybody on this planet has a culture. Everybody has a place that they belong to, a people that they feel connected to. And I just use spoken word as a way to explore that and give people space to express that.
I love that. So you've mentioned two very big words, and these are words that I talk about quite a lot. Is one, to have a sense of belonging, and of course, you know, through this platform that we're on now, is to have that sense of connection with people. We're currently in lockdown in New Zealand, so we're learning pretty quickly how to get on with people in our close confines, our close quarters. How do you see a sense of belonging and a connection happening with the youth out there that you would be working with? Are you able to still tap into them? Are you experiencing any challenges that they're having?
Yeah, so young people are incredibly resilient, and especially when it comes to the technological age that we are now in. Young people, I don't know, parents, if you've ever noticed this, you probably have. Your young people are sometimes impossible to get off their devices.
Yes.
And that's because they're connecting. That's because they are at an age and stage in their development where they would rather turn to their peers for validation, for information, for connection than their older counterparts. And usually psychological development would suggest that for young people, teenagers specifically, that's where they begin to maybe separate or distinguish themselves, or differentiate themselves from their parents. So hence the rebellion, hence the attitude, and you're wondering like, you're not my child. Yeah, that's all normal. That unfortunately.
Well, I tell you what, I'm nodding my head and smiling and just quietly listening to what you're saying and going, this is not a reflection on me. I have only just now removed my daughter's phone and her tablet from her, because as soon as I say it's time to stop, the battle that ensues after that is just not worth it. So I've removed them. And so she's got a massive list of things that she can go and do. And she would rather not do any of those and just whinge and go and have a lie down. And it's such a foreign concept, right? Because when I remember when I was growing up, and it was most likely the same for you, we didn't have phones. I think my first phone was in my 20s and was one of those awful big massive Nokia ones with the aerial and you know, I felt so happy, you know, it was amazing. You could carry your phone around you. You'd have to, you know, work a shoulder workout to carry it in your bag, but you know, you had this. And so for us, you know, we're coming from a generation potentially which is, you got told whatever it is that you had to do by your parents. You know, you were told you need to do this, you need to do this, and if you didn't listen, then you had some pretty severe consequences sometimes. In this day and age now, there's a lot of, well, I don't have to listen to you, Mum. You know, who are you? And it's about us trying to work out, who is this child, like you said, you know, what have I got in my house? This is foreign to me. You know, and at a time now where we're hoping that they will just carry on with their schoolwork. You know, we not only do we get this incredible appreciation for all the work that our teachers do for our children. Imagine having 30 of my child in her class. Nah, you know, big ups, guys, you know, anybody who does that, you know, we've got to give them credit. But we've now got people, and we've got teenagers, we've got young people who are now locking heads potentially with parents who come from one generation, kids who come from another generation. We do not understand each other. How do we communicate around, we still want you to be connected, but we want you off your device as well, you know, like how do we do this?
Yeah, that's a tricky thing, because they're wired at the moment to not listen to you. They're wired to be that way.
Can you pull them out? Can you disconnect those wires?
No, because unfortunately what's happening in their brain is their frontal cortex, their frontal lobe is getting a complete rewiring as they enter into teenagehood. So the front part of their brain that makes executive decision making, you know, risk taking, all that sort of stuff is completely getting rewired. So that's why you're kind of looking at them like they're completely different. Apparently that happens at two phases in a young person's life. Well, one, as they're growing up, it happens quite exponentially, like I think in their infant to like sort of preschool age, and then again when they hit puberty. All that to say, I think that, so like I said, one, it's anatomically happening, biologically, that's just what it is. But then technologically, they are so wired for their peers. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. They want to constantly hang out. They want to constantly be, as I said, get their validation from their peers. Connection for a young person is everything. When you're adult, speaking from myself, sometimes my work takes precedence with what I'm doing, my job, whatever that is, whether that's office work, working with young people, writing poems, whatever, that takes precedence. But to a young person, how they feel and the connections they make, that's what matters the most. And oftentimes they're looking for validation from their friends. So, you know, so sometimes it can feel like pulling teeth as to why they're not listening. I think what could be helpful to know, and you know, there's an incredible neuroscientist, sort of communicator, Nathan Wallace, I think his name is. He talks extensively about this sort of thing. But I think what's important to know when you're talking with children, with young people, where emotion is king and connection is king, before we go into maybe offering critique, or you should have done this or should have done that or whatever, it's important to listen to the emotion, to speak to their emotion first and foremost. So a good analogy of this is, if you will imagine with me for a second that there were two great big elephants riding side by side. Let's say you're on one elephant and your young person is on the elephant. Now, let's say your young person's elephant bucks wild and just starts going crazy and starts just running for it. Now, here's the thing. At that point, and let's just say that the elephant is a metaphor for their emotions and their feelings. And let's say the young person on top of that is their ability to make decisions. Now, if the elephant is running crazy and bucking and just going wild, you don't go yelling out to their rationale to the person on top of the elephant. You start speaking to the elephant, because it's the elephant that's in control right now, not them. So you need to try and figure out how to acknowledge their emotions, acknowledge how they're feeling so they feel validated. And then you start, once the elephant's begun to sort of get back into control and get back into a normal rhythm, then you can start talking to their rationale and speaking to them. So I don't know if that helps, but I think sometimes as adults, we often go straight for the rational. You're like, are you stupid? You've often, I've felt that sometimes. I've been called that sometimes, from my parents. But that's simply because rationale is out the window, and emotion, that elephant, that huge, powerful thing, is just running wild. So speak to the emotion, calm it down, and then you can speak to the rationale.
Dietrich, I just feel like you've just opened up the doors to communication between me and my child right now, because I know 100%, because she is such a smart kid, right? And she's got a really quick, her brain works really quickly, that I'm communicating with her as the writer on the, I'm going to her brain, whereas I really just need to actually go, hey babe, tell me if I'm wrong, let's talk about what you're feeling. Let's come. Let's just have this chat. And I am going to have to get my brain out of it, because I don't want to, and my emotions almost. I don't want to come down. Hey, babe, come and have a little chat with me, and we're going to sort through what's happening. But all I'm expressing is anger and frustration and resentment for the situation. That's not helpful, is it? We both have to meet somewhere in the middle, where I can talk with her emotions, about what it is that's happening. I can monitor my emotions, because I am the adult, and I can try and change what I'm saying without sounding patronizing and condescending, because guaranteed they'll pick up on that.
Oh gosh.
And just knock it right back, and actually really just try and validate their emotions, like what you were saying. So important, right? Because at the moment, with something like COVID, my emotions might be up and running, her emotions up and running, our elephants are charging, we're both shouting at each other, kind of thing. And at the end of the day, what's going to happen? We're just going to fall off our elephant, and the elephants are going to butt heads, and they're going to be, it's not going to be nice and neat and tidy, right? It's going to get messy. And I think it's such a, I love the metaphor, because I can work with the visual side of it, and that's great. But imagine those two elephants, and they're running, but they're in a confined area, our house.
Imagine those elephants in your house, and how easy it is for things to burst, to something to kick off. It can be incredibly trying and fragile times. But I think, Laura, like you said, if we remember that we're the adults and we have better regulation of our emotions, then we have to be the bigger person, because we are, literally. And just, and this is a point I wanted to bring up, is really make sure you're checking in with yourself. I've noticed in the days that we've been in lockdown, maybe 2 days,
24
that
hours and 19 minutes and 13 seconds that we've been here.
yeah, that it's been actually quite important to ensure that I'm not projecting. Now that's a counseling term, but essentially, just to give a quick definition for anyone who doesn't sort of get what I mean by projecting, is that sometimes, for example, I might be feeling quite upset, and then I can project that onto whoever it is I'm communicating with. Like, they might move the salt in a particular manner. I'll be like, "Why'd you move it so aggressively?" And they're like, "What? No, I was just moving the salt." You're like, no, I saw what you're doing. And actually, it's less about them and more about me, and more about what's happening with my elephant and how it's going rampant right now. We need to just be really self-aware, take time. Because look, the fact of the matter is, this is incredibly trying times. This is something straight out of the movies. I never ever thought I would be in this situation. And so emotions are running high. People's patience are running really short, and there's so much happening inside of us. So this is what it means to be kind to yourself, to take time and just to acknowledge what's happening for yourself. So then you are in a better position to acknowledge what's happening in someone else, instead of projecting a whole bunch of stuff, and that being actually quite tumultuous, quite a difficult space to be in for anyone, for yourself and whoever else is stuck indoors with you.
Exactly. And there's a couple of things there. One is remembering to think big picture. So we're not stuck in this forever, we don't think. We think that it's for 4 weeks, for example, or whatever the lockdown ends up being. But there's an end to it. There's going to be a full stop at the end of the sentence. And then we're going to have to write a new sentence or start a new paragraph or a new chapter, if you like. And it's, however we've left the scene in the previous sentence or in the previous chapter or episode, we're really going to have to pick up that scene again in our new one. And so if we were able to just really try and make sure that we were doing the very best that we can with all this advice that we're getting on this platform from everybody, just take it all in and work out what it is that we need to do for ourselves, then we can look at starting the next chapter of our book, of our life story, of whatever it is, in the best way possible, right?
Totally.
As opposed to going, my elephant destroyed my house and every other elephant in the house. And now how do I pick this all up again? This is, oh my gosh, that's a bad place to be. The other thing that I wanted to reflect back on is, I just wrote it down here, that you mentioned about, for the young people, it's so important for them to think about how they are feeling as well. So way that they can do that, and way that if they don't feel like they can express that because their parents potentially haven't seen the videos, or they're not in the space to be able to be any different to how they are, the way that they could express that is through obviously talking to their friends through social media. If they're getting cordoned off on how much time they can spend, for example, in my house and probably a few other houses as well, they're going to need an outlet. They're going to need to get out what it is that they're feeling. And I'm wondering whether something like spoken word could actually be a way that they could do that.
100%. I think I had already mentioned that with spoken word, at least for me, it's about expression, not perfection. And it's about sort of exploring, taking the lid off what's sort of happening inside of you, of oneself. Spoken word, for me, there's a very strong therapeutic aspect to it, if you hadn't already gathered. But it's a great medium. I mean, look, spoken word is great. Dance is great. Pottery is great. Coloring in is great. Just as long as somehow, and that's the thing. Sorry to digress for a minute or for a second, but I feel like spoken word is ultimately about creativity. Creativity is ultimately about what it means to be human. I think sometimes we can lose sight of our humanity when we are in trying times like this.
Yeah.
So I think personally, I feel that spoken word poetry, obviously biased here, is a great medium for young people, for people in general, to take stock of what's happening in themselves, and kind of be able to put language to what might be happening around them.
Yeah. So can I put you on the spot here?
Yeah, please.
All right. So spoken word, I understand from our previous conversations that spoken word is something that once you've developed, you could, be given a few words and you could put together something on the spot.
Yes. Yep.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you up for the
So
challenge?
I 100% am. So I'll give it a go. And yep.
Right. Okay. I love that. So I'm thinking that because we're talking about COVID, that we're going to bring COVID into this.
Great.
And let me see what other notes I made. I think we should bring an elephant into this.
Cool.
So COVID and an elephant. And let's talk about validation.
Awesome.
COVID,
Okay, great.
elephant, validation.
Okay, cool. So
Okay.
I'm just gonna make up a poem, spoken word poem. Obviously, spoken word because I'll be performing it out loud.
Yeah.
So COVID-19, elephant, and validation.
Please.
Okay. COVID-19 sometimes feels like I'm stuck in a dream or a movie reel where things feel so surreal, like I can't wait to wake up. But instead, I wake up in my bed and see the same faces stuck in the same places. This is unbearable at times, like an elephant stampede. Oh my goodness, I am feeling greedy for my own space, which can't happen at the moment, unfortunately. Claustrophobic, closed in, locked in. I'm beginning to think and overthink and rethink and begin to think too much. And now I begin to sink too much into myself and just need someone to hear me out or help me to get out of my own head sometimes. I just need someone to see me, to hear me, to validate me. Maybe I might feel some liberation in that moment of validation and see me for me.
I have goosebumps. I can't, that is, what a gift you've got, and to be able to offer that to so many people who maybe are listening and are just going, oh, did he honestly, was that rigged? Did he put that through? Now you had no idea what my words were.
I had no idea what you're going to do.
Because I was thinking I might pick some other words, and then I just went, nah, I'm going to pick these other words because this is what we've spoken about. And you just put that together. I'm absolutely blown away, and I couldn't be prouder of you at the moment, right in this moment. Like, wow.
Oh, thank you.
Sure, that's amazing. So anybody who has just listened over here to Dietrich and has just heard him put together an entire poem, just like that. He didn't didn't need any preparation time. Gave him 3 random words and you just heard it. Rewind at the end and just listen to it again. He just did this. I can't believe it. Like, this is incredible. Anybody who feels like this would be something that's useful for a child in your home or for your school or for your organization, anything, you just hit Dietrich up. He's going to give me his Facebook page as soon as he's created it, as soon as this interview is finished. And I will pop it up in the link. I want you to spam him with any interest that you've got, okay? He is incredible. And we really want to keep him getting his words out there, getting his communication out there. You're such a lovely, kind, gentle soul, Dietrich, that I want to have more people be able to be touched by you. So I want you to keep it up. Okay.
Thanks, Laura. Thank you for your time, and thank you for giving me a moment to express myself.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dietrich. You've just shone a bit of light on so many things, and especially for your elephant metaphor. I really think that's been really, really helpful. Thank you so much.
All good. No worries. Thank you.
All right. Bye for now.